Recently, the political discourse of South Asia in general and India in particular has shifted more towards India-Maldives relationship. You might have seen Prime Minister's amazing images in mesmerizing landscape of Lakshadweep and subsequent racist remark by some of the ministers in Maldives regime and a consequent escalation in India-Maldives relationship. As an informed, aware and responsible UPSC aspirant, you might be curious about Lakshadweep at this time, India-Maldives relationship, challenges and prospects in this relationship, and if at all China has a role, how China has anything to do with this. Hi, my name is Abhijit Srivastava and I am welcoming you Narayana IAS UPSC Current Affairs update. And all you need to know about this will be discussed here. Before going deeper into this, let's look this whole issue from UPSC point of view. In GS paper 1, Lakshadweep Island, its history and geography and culture is very much important. From GS paper 3 point of view, tourism sector as a part of service sector is important for prelims as well as mains. But what about GS paper 2? There is a topic India and its neighborhood, under which you can find the India's relationship with Maldives and China, and let's look forward for that. First, Lakshadweep. It's a group of 36 islands which are known for its exotic beaches and lush green landscape. The literal meaning of Lakshadweep is 100,000 island. Laksh means lakh, Dweep means island. Okay, this is India's smallest union territory, and the whole area of this archipelago is 32 square kilometers. The capital of Lakshadweep is Kavarati, and which is also a principal town in this union territory. As far as history is concerned, it's very less known about Lakshadweep because of lack of documentation. But local folks talks about Chairman Perumal as a prominent king. He was the last Chera ruler in this archipelago. As we know, most of the population are Muslims, so the Islam was introduced to this island by Saint Ubaidullah. As far as Europeans are concerned, Portuguese were the first to came to this island during early 16th century, followed by Dutch and Europeans. Sovereignty, if you talk about sovereignty, Arakkal rulers were the rulers of these islands during medieval time, followed by Tipu Sultan. And after defeating Tipu Sultan in 1799, Britishers captured the whole archipelago. After independence, after partition, perceiving it as a low-hanging fruit, Pakistan tried to capture the whole island. But considering its strategic significance, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel sent many Indians to unfurl the Indian tricolor to this island. And thanks to Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, it became part of Indian nation state. In 1956, this whole group of islands, this archipelago, was recognized as Union territory under India, and in 1973, the name of archipelago was changed from Lakshadweep, Minicoy and Ammanidweep to Lakshadweep. Let's move to the geography. Lakshadweep has coral origin. Coral means corals are tiny invertebrates known as coral polyps. They live in tropical and subtropical shallow water, marine water, and they exist in symbiotic relationship with zooxanthellae. That means they show mutualism as biotic interaction. Zooxanthellae are microscopic algae and they have abilities to do photosynthesis through which they provide food to the corals, and in turn corals provide shelter to the zooxanthellae. The colonies of corals are known as reefs. Let me explain this. Corals have hard skeleton and they attach themselves with hard surfaces as well, right? So like this, they create a structure. Each successive generation build over the past generation, right? And after sedimentation, compaction, and solidification, they create a structure which seems as a rock, right? And this is how we see corals as a rock structure, right? And this intricate shapes are known as reefs, right? You will get to know, you will be amazed to know these coral reefs occupies only 0.1% of the overall area of oceans and sea around the world, but they support 25% of the biodiversity of this planet. Okay, as far as coral reefs in India is concerned, it is found in PK Mal, that is Pak Bay, Gulf of Kutch, Gulf of Mannar, Andaman Nicobar, and lastly Lakshadweep. Let's move forward. As we already know, this Lakshadweep consists of 36 islands, and not all islands are inhabited. 5 have submerged. Only 11 islands are there which are inhabited. Bitra is the smallest inhabited island. Southernmost island is a Minicoy, and it's also the largest among this archipelago. There are two important channels which are important for prelims point of view. One is 9-degree channel. What is channel? Channels are latitude. And 8-degree channel. This 9-degree channel separates Minicoy Island from rest of the archipelago, and 8-degree channel, it separates Minicoy from the Maldives. Okay. Amini Dev is the northernmost island in this archipelago. There are also 12 atolls. What are atolls? They are ring-shaped coral reefs. It is created as a ring that surrounds a volcano. How? Let's suppose this is a volcanic mountain which raised above the ocean surface. After sometimes coral reefs will surround this mountain, and a long period after a long period, because of weathering, because of some oceanic activities, this island recedes to the ocean and it looks like this, right? But atolls remains. So this is called atoll, right? And it surrounds a lagoon. So this is a water which is called as lagoon, which is surrounded by the atoll, and it separates this lagoon from the rest of the ocean. Now we have seen most of the geographical features of Lakshadweep. Now come to the tourism sector of India and look from GS3 paper point of view. Tourism. Tourism is a process when you go away from your home for a recreational or entertainment purpose, and you seek some or you visit some historical or cultural or geographical area, or you seek for some geographical feature or cultural or historical monument, right? So this is tourism. India is characterized by a diverse cultural, social, and geographical position or geographical features, right? So that is why it's a very huge potential for India as far as tourism is concerned. So we are having a huge cultural diversity in terms of cuisine, in terms of dresses, in terms of tribal culture, festivals. So this makes India a very lucrative for tourism sector. As far as historical monuments are concerned, many temples are there, many mosques, many historical monuments are there. As far as geographical diversity is concerned, from mountains to plain, from desert to coastal areas, we are filled with geographical features. So that is why there is a lot of potential for tourism in India. This tourism contributes approximately 9% to the country's GDP, and it's very important for employment creation. Along with the hospitality, this tourism is a third largest in terms of forex contribution. It has multiplier effect as well. Like it has forward linkages and backward linkages. Like for forward linkages, it supports hospitals and hotel industry. As far as backward linkages is concerned, road, railway, and other infrastructure has linkages with the tourism. So it has a very large potential. Challenges can be clubbed in four verticals: socio-economic, infrastructural, environmental, policy related. We lack in terms of skilled professionals, guides, tours. Also, social attitude is not in favor of tourists. So this is also a problem. As far as infrastructural convenience are concerned, like road, railway, airport connectivity is not there. Hotels are not competitive much. Swachhata is also there. You will find a lot of garbage around the tourist places. Also, internet connectivity, and people are not accepting debit or credit card, international credit cards, etc. Environmental disasters are also a concern, like Kedarnath disaster was also there. So it create apprehension in the mind of tourists. Vulnerability is also there. India's many places are very vulnerable as far as environment is concerned. Also, this tourism also creates vulnerability to the places as well. Plastic pollution is also there, which is also a concern. State are not adequately promoting tourism in their state. This is also a concern. ILP and other policy issues are also there, which is preventing or creating hurdle in the tourism. Also, many states are levying a very high rate of taxes in tourism sector. But various government schemes such as Swadesh Darshan and Dekho Apna Desh, etc. Many campaigns and many schemes. Prasad scheme is also there. So many schemes are there, which is promoting tourism in India. So we have seen the challenges. Now we have to see recommendations as well. We have to see improvement as well, how we can improve our tourism sector. So as far as socio-economic vertical is concerned, we have to skill our professional. We need to inculcate professionalism in our human resources. So one way could be like we can converge various schemes. For example, we can converge Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana with other schemes such as Manrega and all, so that our human resource can be more skilled. Also, we need to sensitize our populace. We need to sensitize our drivers. We need to sensitize our shopkeepers, our guides towards the tourists and their problems. Also, we need to look for the infrastructural development. We need to pump more capital to this tourism sector. Government and private spending should be increased. Also, we need to create new recreational activities across the India. We can follow ODOP, one district, one product model to improve our tourism sector. Also, we need to strengthen our waste, water and plastic management across the tourist places. We need to ensure strict adherence to environmental laws, and we need to assess scientifically the vulnerability of the areas so that we can mitigate any future disaster. As far as policy related recommendations are concerned, we need to incentivize state, we need to incentivize the sectors associated with tourism through tax rebates. We need to create a competitive federalism between the states so that they can compete with each other to improve the tourism at large. Also, we have to create a national level authority and council for the implementation of schemes related with the tourism. Also, we need to create councils so that we can create policies, favorable policies to improve tourism in India. So far, we have discussed a lot for Lakshadweep, its history, its geography. From prelims point of view, we have discussed tourism sector. Now, the main points come here: India-Maldives relationship. So let's have a brief overlook of its background. Since independence, India promoted democracy, and self-rule. That is why after 1965, when Britishers left Maldives, India was one of the few countries who recognized Maldives as an independent country. In 1979, India also signed a maritime boundary agreement with Maldives to not just recognize but also respect each other's maritime boundary and space. In 1988, a coup was tried in Maldives, and India proactively intervened to safeguard the democracy and human rights in Maldives. However, it initially created some strain between these two countries. Eventually, the issues was resolved between these two countries. In 2008, when Mohammad Nasheed became president, the peaceful cooperation between India and Maldives resurged, and both of the countries improved their economic and trade and cultural relation with each other. India also supported various developmental projects that we are going to see in coming slides. But India also supported various developmental projects in Maldives. However, in 2013, when Abdullah Yamin became the president of Maldives, India and Maldives relation was a little bit deteriorated because of three basic reasons. First is loss of democratic values in Maldives. Second, human right violation. And Maldives closer, not just Maldives, but Abdullah Yamin's closer ties with China in the lure of Belt and Road initiatives. But Abdullah Yamin ignored debt trap policy of China. However, this friendship between India and Maldives, it renewed in 2018 onwards when Mohammad Saleh became the president. As far as mutual concerns in these days are concerned, security, in the name of security partnership, we have some joint exercises with Maldives, namely Equivarine, Dosti, Ekta, and Operation Shield. Also, in last 10 years, India trained 1,500 personnel in Maldivian National Defense Force. Also, India became the Maldives' first line of defense against any maritime issue, including counterterrorism, combating piracy on high seas, and countering drug trafficking. As far as economic partnership is concerned, India and Indian companies heavily invested in Greater Malay Connectivity Project. It's the most ambitious and biggest developmental infrastructure project in Maldives. A bilateral currency swap agreement also signed between RBI and Maldives Monetary Authority to prevent any BOP crisis that Maldives can face in future. As far as relief assistance is concerned, in 2014, India through Operation Neer helped in acute water crisis of Maldives. Operation Sanjeevani was also there to protect Maldives and Maldivian citizens from 2019 COVID pandemic. Apart from that, India also helped Maldives in making 300-bed Indira Gandhi Memorial Hospital. Also, several Indian educational institutions collaborated and helped and educated various Maldivian students. But what is the current spat between India and Maldives? Recently, the political regime got changed in Maldives, and newly become President Mohammad Muizzu, he also campaigned India out plank. Putting it into practice, the Maldives government decided to not renew the 2019 agreement under which Maldives and India could conduct joint hydrographic surveys. And a little bit Later, we'll see what is hydrographic survey, but it was a very ambitious survey between India and Maldives, and he decided not to join, not to renew these hydrographic surveys. On account of this, this archipelagic state formally asked New Delhi to withdraw its Indian military presence from its shores. Also, there is another problem that Maldives had decided to join Indian Ocean Forum, which was organized by China, instead of joining, or they also skipped the Colombo Security Dialogue that involves India and other Indian Ocean states, that created a little bit bitter condition between India and Maldives. The latest trigger has been undiplomatic words used by ministers in Maldives against Prime Minister Modi in general and India in particular. Anyways, further, Maldives President Muizu, he visited China and he urged China to reclaim top spot in tourist arrivals, which was earlier dominated by Indian in the last few years. Again, further, Maldives and China signed 20 agreements after this spat, and later they elevated their relationship, their bilateral ties, like in Maldives and China, to a comprehensive strategic cooperative partnership. So far, we have seen the chronology of current spat. Now we have to see another topic which is relevant for prelims examination, that is hydrographic survey. This is nothing but a survey conducted by specialized ship for overall mapping of profile and other physical features of a water body. It will be helpful in mapping water depth, seafloor and coastline shapes, potential obstructions, and other physical features such as temperature, salinity, etc. So far, 3 joint hydrographic surveys has been conducted between India and Maldives. First is INS Darshak between February and March 2021, INS Satluj from April to May 2022, and INS Investigator between January and February 2023. All these hydrographic survey has 2 basic importance. One is economic and another is strategic. Economic, as we can get to know about various resources, biodiversity in that particular water body. Also, as far as strategic is concerned, if you know the profile, if you know the obstructions, if you know the coastline, potential obstructions, everything about that particular region, you can outsmart other navies, any enemy navies, any enemy ships, or any pirate ships in that region, right? The survey extended beyond data collection. That means it's not just about data collection, but also it included provision of relevant equipment and training to MNDF personnel, that is Maldives National Defense Force personnel. It doesn't mean that India has not done any hydrographic survey before. Indian survey ships have assisted Kenya, Mauritius, Mozambique, Maldives, Oman, Seychelles, Sri Lanka and Tanzania in the past as well. Okay, so now look forward for the challenges for India, how these things or these events are becoming challenges for India. When you look at the map, you will see the location of Maldives is very strategic for India. It's just 70 miles away from Minicoy Island, that is part of India, and 300 nautical mile away from mainland India's shore. And it makes Maldives a very strategic for India. How? Because if this spat or this issue remains for a long time, it will unnecessarily attract various global power to Indian Ocean region, and India don't want any other power to be in the Indian Ocean region at this time. It will not only hamper India's security concern, but also it will affect sea line of communication. And mind it, 95% of India's international trade by volume is passed through these sea line of communication, and that is why it's also important for India's economy. Also, it will unnecessarily expand in Chinese footprint, and this is also a very important challenge for India right now. China definitely used Belt and Road Initiative and debt trap policy for long-term interference in Maldivian politics and economy, and Hambantota is very classical example of that. Not only this, China will use string of pearls strategy to counter India in Indian Ocean region with the help of these issues. So that is why it's very challenging for India. But that doesn't mean that it's only challenging for India, it's also challenging for Maldives as well. How? Because firstly, almost all of the daily needs are being supplied by India. So India supplies every possible edible item except seafood to Maldives. Also, India is a very cheap exporter of medicines. Through its generic medicines, India is the biggest medicine supplier, critical care and life-saving drugs provider to Maldives. India also supplies basic items to build infrastructure in Maldives, and that too in a very cheaper rate. India also provides education to Maldivians, and you see a lot of economic dependency is there as far as India and Maldives are concerned. India is the second largest trade partner of Maldives, and that is why India is one of the most important friend or ally to the Maldives. India also helps during disaster. In past, we have seen various operations that India has conducted to save Maldives from various disasters. Even in 2000, early 2000s, tsunami, India was the first one who reached to Maldives to save Maldivians. Also, India is a security provider in Indian Ocean region for Maldives. So, if a lot of challenges are there, so there must be some way forward. Let's look into that. Firstly, what Maldives has to do, or what Maldives has to understand is, firstly, they need to understand, they need to get sensitized over Chinese debt trap policy. They need not to get into that trap, and they need to become self-reliant, for which India is the biggest helper at this time. Also, Maldivians minister has to respect others' unity and integrity. Along with that, India has to learn something else. Like, India have to maintain diplomatic relation independent of the regime. We see various time when India creates a diplomatic relationship with some other countries, it is dependent on the regime. So India has to make some diplomatic relationship that should be independent of regime. Like, for example, Myanmar, Maldives, and Sri Lanka, we have seen such type of incidences. So these are the learnings that India has to take now. So I think I have covered almost each and every topic of this whole issue. Thank you so much for watching this video.